You're watching AMN Plus. This is our weekly program, Diplomatic Corner. Today I'm sitting with Professor Margaret Juko, the president of East African Communication Association. We're going to talk about the role of the media and the communication towards the integration of countries, particularly in Africa. Stay with us. Professor, welcome to the studio. I really appreciate your time and thank you on behalf of Addis Media Network for your willingness to give us your insights about the role of media, the role of communication towards the integration of African countries and African societies. You are an Ugandan, yeah?
Yes, I'm a Ugandan.
So I think people-to-people ties between the two countries, what is your perception about the ties, people-to-people ties and country-to-country? I mean, the Ugandans, what Ugandans think about Ethiopia, on Ethiopians?
Unfortunately, not many Ugandans have had the opportunity to come here. The others that have not been here, maybe they read, particularly journalists like you, like me in the past, they read about the history of Africa. And they know that Africa is one of the countries that has rich cultures, that has beautiful people, that has a beautiful environment. They also think that because you guys, you were lucky, very, very lucky that you were not colonized. A great lesson. And when you are in this town, the legacy is there. The legacy is there. You have maintained your cultures. You know, and you must be proud about that. So, but now I don't know. What we know about many people, they know what they know about Ethiopia is your flight, is your Ethiopian Airlines. Yeah, Ethiopian Airlines is reliable, it's cheaper if you compare it with other airlines. I will not mention them because that is not ethical. But East Africa, Ethiopian Airways has been there. When I was growing up, I traveled with my mom, my siblings, and my dad to the US, and we flew, you know, with Ethiopian Airlines. And the women, the air hostess, and this is what we saw as young people, smart air hostesses. You know, the services are very good, food is very good, there's a lot of hospitality. And it's on time, it keeps time. You know, although after COVID-19, most airlines also had difficulties. But so the pride of Africa
of course,
is known everywhere. Is known everywhere, yes. The other thing that Rwanda knows about Ethiopia is that you are like siblings. Yeah.
I met some Rwandans here, living here in Ethiopia. I even interviewed some of them. Yes. They're just leading their lives here in Ethiopia.
Yes, and they like it.
Many just advocate for having a single media that talks about Africa and African story. So what is your take about that? The Ethiopian government, I remember years ago, Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed proposed this when the heads of government is convened here in Addis Ababa. He said that there is a need of one single media house for Africans.
Yes.
On this same occasion, last year, I called upon all of us to tackle Africa's typically negative portrayal by the global media. I stressed the need for Africa to tell her own story and not allow others to tell it in the service of their own interest. In this respect, please allow me to reiterate yet again the need to establish an Africa Union continental media house. Until Africa tells her own stories, her image will remain distorted. A distortion that affects not just how others view us, but also how we view ourselves. We owe it to ourselves and to our children that Africa's truths needs to be told as they are, untainted with external interest and biases. Africa today is leading voice for better world. Africa are increasingly resolving their differences by peaceful means. The African continent is fast-tracking the establishment and implementation of a rules-based system on trade governance that promises to create the world's largest free trade area. African countries are engaged in environmental conservation, reforestation, and a massive investment in the generation of clean energy from hydro sources. In short, Africa is leading the world in areas that matters for all humanity, and it is time for Africa's leadership role to be recognized and institutionalized. I would like to use this opportunity to lend my voice yet again for Africa to be represented on the UN Security Council with at least one permanent seat and double non-permanent seats. Thank you. Moreover, Africa also needs to have proportionate representation at the G7, the G20, and similar global forums.
What do you think about that?
Yeah, like now, this is what? This is Addis Ababa Media Network. We expect, of course, as journalists, we need to give our, like for you, you are a television journalist, we call viewers. The radios, there will be listeners, but broadly, they are our audiences. So we need to give what our audiences want. So it is a matter of balancing. And maybe say the greatest percentage of the stories that we report should be local or should be continental. You see what I mean? The greatest percentage. That way, even the young ones will learn about Ethiopian cultures. Because if you keep screening movies or children stories, cartoons that come from abroad, like for you now, you do have equipment, you have the resources to go deep in the villages and ask people to tell their own stories so that the kids learn from it. So that means that we need to balance. Maybe provide the greatest percentages to cover local content, and then embed in maybe the foreign content. So with media liberalization, when media liberalized the airwaves and privatized, that meant that people should look at the content which entertains people. Football, particularly foreign football, was very much on the menu. Then movies, particularly those are imported. I don't know about Ethiopia. I've not studied your broadcasting issues. But other countries like Kenya, like Uganda, like Tanzania, Rwanda, have studied. And you find that the greatest percentage were foreign movies until the legislation was put in. And they brought rules, and they said, if we are going to give you license, and I'm talking about private media, I'm not talking about public media. I don't know, are you public media?
Yeah, public media.
You are public media. But for private media, they said, before we give you a license, you must show us that at least you have 50% or 25%, that will be a percentage of local content.
Yeah, what I mean, Professor, now I'm not aware of what is happening in Senegal, for example.
Yes.
But I have just more awareness what happened in other parts of the world because of the influence of Al Jazeera, because of the influence of CNN.
That's right.
So in this regard, Africa needs a media house like Al Jazeera, CNN. It can be organized or managed by the African Union. Local media, whether private or public, there are numbers of thousands in the continent of Africa. But the advocate is one single media that influences or that goes parallel to other international
yes. I think that is where I was coming
Okay,
to.
okay.
The public media, really, I think it must endeavor to provide information that helps, that the information that subscribes to what we call public service. Information which talks about climate change in Ethiopia, health, agriculture, the things that are relevant, vaccination, the things that are relevant. Then probably if we need another, which is like Ali Jazeera. Ali Jazeera, by the way, is doing a great job. Because you compare it with the CNN, it brings all stories from different parts of the world. But it communicates in one language. What is it, that language? It is English. Now, if you are going to bring a television station, which is like Al Jazeera, there will be a lot put into production. Because you will, first of all, do it in English, and then you will have because you will get stories that are in English, then you will have to maybe voice over or superimposition. And that one will maybe take many resources and so on and so forth. But maybe if government powers money into one station that can bring stories elsewhere. But I know even this you can bring stories from elsewhere. Like, for example, this very program. It's one program, and is it weekly?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's one program. It's weekly. If you bring, news from different perspectives, then that means you bring news, like, for example, this story, another story from Kenya, another story from Uganda, another story from London. But you must also think about the budgets, the budgets that we work with. You will not be able to send our journalists to look for those stories. So this commitment, yes, it's right, but if it's advocated, then it must also come with a commitment from government to fund news media institutions. Before liberalization and privatization, we used to have a lot of money because government was supporting. But when the policy came, the liberalization policy and privatization, media, I was working for Uganda Television that time, and radio. And we used to have the budget, and government would fund. But in 1993, when media went under liberalization, government saw that the private medias, they were making money and they were surviving. So they also withdrew their funding commitment. And that was it. And then we started to struggle. But at the same time, we were mandated to provide development content, the content which addresses the public's interests, like programs on environment, programs on education, on agriculture, on, other markets, and so on and so forth. So we struggled. We struggled because we were competing with other people that were money-oriented, and we would not sell this content. The environment does not sell. It's important, but nobody will, advertise under it. So we needed also to find ways of earning money to survive, but at the same time, to play our public service role. So we struggled there. So now we go to classrooms, like me, I'm a professor of journalism, media, and communication. And these are some of the, discussions we are having at these spaces. We cannot compete. If we want to maintain this, we cannot compete with the private that have money, that do this and this. And when you tell your students that you must provide this content that is needed for your country to grow, they will say, no, our audiences, they want entertainment.
Artificial intelligence, the emerging digital technology,
Yes.
I think it is one of the challenges of African, and particularly African children, students.
Yes.
So, to what extent the impact is, and what do you think the role, the responsibilities, or what are the things that the students, African students, the children, are expected to deal with this emerging technology and emerging challenges?
Yeah, these issues also underpinned the discussions that we had at the conference. The challenges of social media. Social media is also a great opportunity for even for everyone in the country to tell their stories. But the problem is there's a lot of deep fakes, there's a lot of misinformation, there's a lot of fake news. So it is even a challenge for us professionals like you know, and AI comes with both challenges, but it also has opportunities. But Africa, and it's not only a problem in Africa, it is also there in the global north. The students, the children now are no longer doing research. They are asking the tools, the AI tools, ChatGPT, for example. It is writing essays. So she would write an essay, very brilliant, like a PhD scholar, and then she will give it to you. Then you will call her, can you tell me what you wrote here? And she starts scratching. They don't know. So how are they going to learn? So we are saying, and at first we fought it. In fact, I think we were in Nairobi on a round table, and that's one of the things we discussed. What do we do? Should we discourage the students? Then we said, no, we must endorse them, we must accept them, but guide our students on how to use them. So that is a big challenge, by the way. But we cannot do anything apart from ensuring that they know how to use them. Because if you just tell ChatGPT, for example, write for me an essay on the Battle of Adwa, it will write the essay, but it will bring different perspectives. It can even say the Ethiopians were stupid to fight. It can even turn around the figures. And they say Ethiopians died in numbers, although they win the war. It can say anything. So at least provide the information that you think will come out. And when ChatGPT gives you that essay, try to test it with other empirical evidence that is already there. So this is what we are saying. But it is becoming difficult because a person like you, even like me, a professor, because I don't have time, I will get it. I hear that so many professors in the US are rolling out books using ChatGPT, those ones that uses AI. People are scamming people, so many. Yeah, so we have those problems, but we are discussing. One of the keynote speakers, Professor Guy Berger from South Africa, who was also my professor when I was a student at Rhodes, presented a keynote which was explaining how we can, for example, how can we use big data? In Africa, we don't have big data. And the tools that we use, we get them, and even big data comes from the global north. But there are some African countries that are trying to get the tools and also to work with big data, you know. But how do we utilize those tools? We can utilize those tools by sharing insights, sharing even the tools that are developed in Africa. But we commercialize everything, and that becomes a problem. So this is where the role of the media and communication comes in from the perspectives of Africa, of Africa's integration. We need to work together, Lydie.
Professor, thank you so much for your time again.
Thank you, Jonas, for having me.
That's great.
Yeah.
Well, everyone, that is for this week's program, Diplomatic Corner. Yes, I hope that you've got some understanding about the role of media and communications. So I have started with Professor Margaret Juco, the President of the East African Communication Associations. Until we meet you next week with another guest. Have a wonderful time.